Lexus presents tennis on Sky Sports.
With Amanda Anisimova, we talked about the reaction coming back from that double bagel at Wimbledon to beat Iga Swiatek here. But ahead of the match, we heard from her talking about everything she's been through. From losing her father when she was a teenager, for being this sort of great hope, then taking a break for mental health reasons and coming... I mean, it's a lot for someone who's just 24 to have been through.
It feels like she's lived several lifetimes already, honestly, and so few players, I think, would be able to respond the way that she's done today, knowing that you've just been killed in the biggest moment of your tennis career so far, and to have all those memories probably coming back as you stepped out there today, but just knowing what you could do differently. So she just had a totally different approach. It was the same game style in many ways, but today she was actually loose enough and relaxed enough to play the tennis that she probably wanted to a few weeks ago. So yeah, just a absolutely huge difference for her, complete night and day, and you could tell that Swiatek maybe wasn't ready for it. She wasn't expecting it and looked rushed herself, was looking up at her player box, looking like, I don't know what's going on, I don't know where to go to. And Swiatek for me sometimes gets in this mood of trying to out-hit the big hitters and play really stubbornly, and I just thought tactically she played not her best match there when she was going way too much to Anisimova's backhand side, which has been lethal. She's absolutely cracking winners on that shot, especially down the line, and has been all tournament. But there was this concerted effort to just keep going to that side in the hope that it might break down. So anyway, there's a lot for Swiatek to dissect after that one. I'm sure her team will get to it, but I think today's all about Amanda.
Yeah, it certainly is. And we've seen that over the years with Iga Swiatek against the big hitters. If it's not going her way, she becomes a little bit like a computer that's malfunctioning, and she doesn't know what to do or where to go.
Yeah, and in particular on the serve, you know, she's got this natural kick serve, especially on the second, but it was going to the Anisimova backhand all the time. It was until midway through the second set that she had yet to hit a serve to the forehand, and so you wonder, you know, tactically what is she trying to achieve there, and you see how her positioning was getting further back behind the court, just feeling so rushed on the backhand side. The knees were dropping to the ground all the time, and you have to say Anisimova moved so much better than she did when they played at Wimbledon. Of course the nerves were different, and you know that just loosens you up that much more, but it looked like she was ready to fight in these ground stroke rallies, to run left and right, and that was the net cord on the match point. But there was a previous one where it just trickled over. Anisimova was up 40-love, then it went 40-30, and you thought, okay, if Iga can get this to juice, the momentum might change. The feeling of the match was on such a knife edge that it felt like every point mattered, and the net cord earlier on in that second set, I think, was a huge relief for Anisimova, and from then on it just felt like she had the confidence to close it out.
And that's a 36th win of the year for Amanda Anisimova. That's the most wins she has notched up in a year. Now, after her break from the sport, she came back in Australia in 2024, and it shows how she's been building. At first, physically it's getting back to being on life on tour, but now look at this, a full season, now the confidence, the belief, and now a massive win in the form player coming into this event.
Yeah, a massive win. I picked Iga Swiatek ahead of the tournament. I'll hold my hand up and say I'm very much wrong. I'm happy to be wrong, though, in a case like this where you just see someone come out of their shell and find a way through a really difficult period that she must have had over the last few weeks. But she just put herself in all the right scenarios. She went back, played Montreal, played Cincy, got herself the matches that she needed on hard courts, and even in this tournament hasn't played amazing throughout. It's taken a couple of rounds for Anisimova to put together this sort of hitting. But yeah, absolutely world-class performance today. So really fun to see a new person shine on a big stage like this.
Very happy to say that Marion is back from the commentary box.
It was a bit of a struggle.
Well, no, look at all these people behind us. I mean, if you were battling through these people...
I tried my best, but it was a battle.
That was Iga Swiatek having a word with her coach, Wimper, said it's going to be tough to take. There'll be questions to be answered, but...
Well, I was just going to say, Marion, I'm not sure if you saw this, when the match was ongoing, the sort of attitude from the play box was really interesting for me. Wim was, as usual, quite quiet, but the rest of the box were getting really agitated. And this has been a couple of rounds now that we've heard from them a lot during the match. So it's just, yeah, and maybe it doesn't help the situation when you see that your player's already stressed out there.
I just think that the vibe was completely different from each box. You had on one side Anisimova's box, everyone was very positive, always very encouraging, just giving her that positive message. Even if on the rare occasion she was missing, just give her that comfort that she was doing the right thing. And on the other side, I don't speak Spanish, so I can't understand what they were saying, but it was just a lot of shouting. And you just know, even though, of course, it's a loud court, but the shouting is always a lot more aggressive into the message you're receiving. And again, I can't translate what they've been saying, so I'm not going to judge based on the message was, but just based on the voice tone. I think it
based on the body language.
Exactly, it just put Iga on a lot more of a difficulty that she was already facing on the court, because she had the whole stadium to take on the top of Anisimova's game was today absolutely extraordinary. So it was just a lot for her to take on, and probably the image we're just showing now onto the gym when you sort of release the tension as well and going into her team and probably expressing all the stress she was feeling on the court as well.
Probably best for her just to take some time and then regroup a little bit later, because emotions are going to be flying. Up in the commentary box, looking down at that match, what was the most impressive thing for you about the way Amanda Anisimova played?
I mean, so many things. The ball striking was just outrageous. I mean, we kept on coming with the numbers, because I think it's very interesting all the time to compare with the men's, because often you have that sort of impression in the men's is so much harder than the women's, which actually when you come up with the numbers, it was not true today. We had a great match of Felix, but Anisimova was overeating so much harder and constantly compared to what Felix Auger-Aliassime was bringing on the court. What I found extraordinary, she got broken the first game of the match, and you're like, oh, please no. Please, please,
get a game on the board.
Exactly. And I never saw in her a single doubt during that whole match, which I found after what happened in Wimbledon, and for sure it must have been there somewhere into her head, getting broken the first game and keep on going constantly. She was fist pumping to herself before the first and second serve of Iga Swiatek, having that constant sort of self-talk and sort of prepping herself on what she should do on the points. I just find that extraordinary, because we both with Laura have been in difficult situations, and sometimes when you face against someone who has beaten you down on such an important match, and you're facing that person again and you get down, it's so easy to just sort of going south into your attitude, and to keep that motivation going, and playing the type of tennis she has played out. Absolutely hats off to you, Amanda Anisimova.
But can you imagine? She's on the biggest tennis court in the whole world. She knows that every single person knows what happened at Wimbledon and is all willing her to hold serve. So what she must have been going through.
Yeah, but then she broke to go 1-1 in the first, and then the crowd just erupted, and I think that's sort of a release of tension in a way. They helped her out throughout that whole match, and she got them on side so early on, because everyone has sort of compassion for what she went through on the court at Wimbledon, and you know, her speech especially afterwards was so bare in the moment and so vulnerable, and people connected with that. So I think the crowd were just willing her over the line today, and especially towards the end of the match, it was so loud. I went and sat next to Tim in the stadium because I wanted to soak up that feeling, and you know, every other person was just screaming, "Let's go, Amanda! Come on, Amanda!" So I think, you know, for her that has to be relaxing in a way, even though it's a massive stage and you're in front of that many thousands of people. You know that they've got your back.
Even people on the presidential box, when usually the etiquette is
cheering too.
Well, exactly. It was usually the etiquette is to sort of keeping a neutral attitude toward both players. They're sort of high-fiving to each other and fist pumping in the first front row. And they have no more American male player, but they do have now 2 American female players still into the draw, into the semi-final. I mean, it's women's tennis right into the spotlight.